Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
It's BJ Jotch. Right off the bat, what to start the show. John, help me out. What's the name of the show again?
bjshow.co is the website, and this is the Brad and John Show.
Why do I have a problem with that? I'm the guy that came up with it. I'm the guy that bought the domain name. I'm the guy that built the website, and I can't say the damn thing.
Who's the guy, Brad, the motivational guy that says in order to master something, you need 10,000 hours?
Well, you know what? There's an interesting one. I can't remember who that is. I saw something the other day, which is something is interesting, and it was an interesting statistic that if you spent 18 minutes a day on something, on some kind of like say playing the guitar.
On crack. 18 minutes a day on crack.
No, 18 minutes a day like on guitar, playing the drums.
I see. Okay.
So in other words, out of your day, you say you got 24 hours. Okay, if you just take essentially less than 1/3 of 1 hour of your day, and you do something like play the guitar, play the drums, or something like that, at the end of the year, you will be better than 95% of the people on the planet Earth.
I completely believe that. And back to our conversation yesterday, Brad, who has the discipline to do something for 18 minutes a day?
Well, I'm trying to get into that. I got this thing called TIMDE, Things I Must Do Every Day, TIMDE. And,
oh, wow. Interesting.
And I'm not very good at it, but I've got a whole list of things that...
Are they health related, or are they professional related, or both?
All I do is work. They're pretty much all work things. Like, for example, I've got another new website that'll appear that I'm going to start promoting as of January 1st, which is really sort of interesting. I think this is either going to be, and by the way, let me finish that thought. It could be interesting. I mean, for me, it's therapy. I mean, I have to be honest with you. For me, it's therapy, but there's a whole other thing. We're getting some decent numbers on our website on this.
I bet we are.
And what's interesting is, you start something new and you put your podcast out there and, one day 4 people listen to it and stuff like that. Every day it grows. It's sort of interesting. So anyway, that is available at bjshow.co. There's 2 ways to get it. There's a scroll right on the front page where you can listen to every single episode. We're on, I think, 55 or 56, something like that. What we do is we take the show. We do 3 segments, each show, A, B, and C, and then I put those also in a post. So every day you can go see the post. It's right there on the front page. And if you click on the post, it'll give you a synopsis of what is in segment A, segment B, segment C. So that way you can, do that kind of stuff. Anyway.
And if you follow us, for folks can follow us on Instagram, they can follow me on Twitter at JohnCombest_com. Brad, yesterday was the first day that I posted a link directly to the segments, now that the segments are so easy to get to, as you just mentioned. So we got a lot of click-through on that, a lot of feedback on that.
Interesting. Well, hopefully we'll make some progress here. Okay, we start the show off with John doing his top 3 because of top 3 of JohnCombest.com. And I explain this every day, but you know what? That's one of the things of radio that you always have to assume that you're getting new listeners every day. And it's sort of like, and it's interesting. This was taught to me by a very, very, very smart program director. He said that if you have a group of friends and they sort of have, well, remember when Jim did that? Oh, yeah, that was pretty funny. And you walk into this group, you have no idea what they're talking about.
For sure.
So
and every day there's people that hear our segments, whether they find them on my website or whether they're listening in their car, that hear us for the very first time.
Right. So the idea being is I tell the story about John Combest that every day for the past, 22 years now, he puts up a list of the top political stories in the state of Missouri. Now, once again, it's not fancy. There's no video. There's no fancy pictures, no scrolling things, stuff like that. It's just like really bare bones. And all you do is you can go look at all the tags, you can look at all the links. And if you are interested in what, for example, Eric Schmidt said yesterday, bang, you can find
it's right there.
It's right there. So and we start the show off with John's top three stories that he believes are the top 3 on JohnCombest.com.
Today, and showing, for example, from our mouths, Brad, to the media, The number 3 story today is from the Washington Missourian. And what do you know? They're covering that I-44 improvements could be on tap. Now, I say that tongue-in-cheek because yesterday we discussed this at length.
Yeah, we
on the
talked
show.
about that.
And momentum is building for I-44 improvements. This is all in the wake of I-70 improvements that are coming this summer, a huge multi-year project to expand I-70 across Missouri. And I-44 folks along the I-44 corridor have been saying, that's great, and what about us? Momentum is building. The Missouri Farm Bureau just passed a resolution calling for I-44 to be expanded, for there to be more investment on I-44. So the Missouri Farm Bureau, who is a powerful force in Missouri politics, is supporting it. And the quote that's in the Washington Missourian story today says that MoDOT is positioning I-44 as the, quote, obvious next corridor for state lawmakers to focus on.
Well, you know, what's crazy about Missouri, we have so many interstates in Missouri, and people don't even realize how many interstates there are in Missouri. I mean, people in the St. Louis area are familiar with, obviously, 55 and 70 and 44 and 64, but down in the southern part of the Missouri area, I was just there the other day, you have 57 that comes into Missouri, not for long. Then you have on the other side of the state, you have 35, which goes sort of southwest northeast between Kansas City and Des Moines. You have 29 that runs between Kansas City and essentially Omaha. And then you got the new one. There was a state highway that they turned into an interstate that goes south from Kansas City to Joplin. I can't remember that one. And I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if we talked about this one time before. There's a highway that runs across the northern part of Missouri, Highway 36. And there are plans, I don't know how, firm they are, but there are plans to turn that into the extension of of Interstate 72, because 72 comes out of Illinois and then essentially comes across the Mississippi River in the Hannibal area. And supposedly they are going to look at possibly taking 36 and making it another interstate as 72 all the way across the Missouri, the northern part of Missouri from Hannibal to St. Joe. Which is like, man, we've got some interstates, but yet we're not really the transportation hub, which is sort of sad.
Yeah.
But
So that's the number 3 story today, I-44 expansion. The number 2 story comes to us from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and it's something that happens pretty much at the end of every governor's term. Staff begins to leave. They're looking for greener pastures. They don't want to be the last person out the door looking for a job. And Governor Parsons, legislative budget director, so someone who's guided the governor's administration as it relates to budget over the last few years, at least since I think Alex came on in 2021. His name's Alex Tuttle, and he's leaving the governor's office to start his own lobbying firm. The interesting thing about these stories is this story was written by a Post-Dispatch reporter named Kurt Erickson. The stories, if you read between the lines, seem to be dripping with contempt. Reporters absolutely hate it when somebody leaves a government job and might go somewhere with the potential of making a lot more money. And reporters talk about the revolving door, and they talk about they'll tie in anybody else who's already left the administration for a lobbying job. You would think that it could be a feel-good story. Hey, someone served in government for a few years, now they're leaving, have the potential to have a lucrative career lobbying. But coming from a traditional reporter, it's not going to be so positive.
So you don't like...
You can find that story, once again, if you don't want to pay the Post-Dispatch subscription fee, go to johncombest.com, and I include a very special link that gets you around the Post-Dispatch paywall.
So you're telling me you don't like Mr. Erickson is what you're telling me?
I'm sorry, Brett?
I said, so you're telling me you don't like Mr. Erickson. That's what you're telling me.
No, I didn't say that at all. I think, he's a veteran content creator. And yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for somebody who's been around a long time and done a lot of work, I guess.
You just said something interesting. Is he a reporter or is he a content creator?
I think probably when he started his career, I think it'd probably be, I'm not familiar with his work decades. I think he's entering the sunset of his career, I would say. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about him. I remember welcoming him into the Missouri Press Corps when he joined. I sent him a jovial tweet. He was fine. From what I heard Well, I don't know. Anyway, but he might be approaching the sunset of his career, and you could kind of pick up when people get a little cranky about stuff. Maybe they're ready to just hang it up, and we all have an expiration date, don't we, Brad?
No, we don't.
We don't.
We just keep going.
You're never retiring. And for folks who don't know, Brad's theory is retirement equals death.
That's right.
And it's true. You look at a lot of people who've retired and they lose their will to live, and before long they're pushing up daisies.
Just remember one thing: old radio people never die. We just smell that way.
Well done, Brad.
Okay.
Well done. The number one story today comes to us from St. Louis Public Radio, which is an amazingly factual piece today. That's because it's probably only a couple hundred words. Missouri has applied for and will be getting a grant from USDA to help livestock farmers in Missouri. So you could think of them as Missouri's cowboys survive droughts and floods. So it's some money that will help. The state gets to decide how it will administer this money. It will be, let me see here, $6 million. And it will help Missouri farmers do things like irrigation planning, plant some things like cover crops, which keep soil in place so there's not as much erosion. It's a chunk of money from the federal government that the state can decide how they can help farmers conserve water. So usually on my website, if there's a story that focuses on federal issues like Josh Hawley, Eric Schmidt, Corey Bush, or something involving a federal agency, I usually put that at the top. I put the federal stuff at the top. Folks can get through that and then get down to the state stuff. So those are the top three stories today.
Well, I listen to a lot of different radio stations, and there's a national company, I think it's called Good Ranchers, and the advertisement talks about the fact that a good majority of the beef we eat in the United States right now is not from the United States.
It's imported.
Yes, I'm thinking, how is that? And essentially what apparently Good Farmers is like a cooperative of a bunch of American ranchers, or Good Ranchers. I can't remember the name of it. Isn't it terrible? I should remember that. A cooperative of a bunch of the ranchers who have gotten together and essentially are doing their own thing as far as processing the beef and stuff like that. But I'm thinking to myself, it always amazes me that you think a lot of the stuff we buy right now is from China, okay? Mm-hmm. And sometimes, the attraction for Chinese-made goods is that they are extremely cheap. Sometimes, if you ever see this site called Temu, you know what Temu is? T-E-M-U?
Oh, yeah. Temu's like, it's their version of Amazon, right?
Right. But it's things like, hey, here's an air compressor that normally would be $199. Now it's $8. And you go like, no, hold on a minute now. But when you think about it, they manufacture it, they put it on a ship, it comes across halfway across the world, then they take it off a ship, and like for us being in the middle of the country, it goes on a truck, and it goes to a store, and you go like, how in the world do they make any money? I mean, what must the cost of that product, like the stuff you buy at Walmart, which is, most of the things, they always talk about, the low price, that kind of stuff. How much is Walmart paying, I mean,
but you also think that the companies in China are state subsidized, and you have no visibility into real economic data from China. So when China reports their GDP or China reports their economic issues, it's all BS. It's just a matter of, are they consistent with the BS?
Right, I guess. Okay. I have to do something because of the fact that this is sort of bothering me, that we tried to call Mr. McCluskey yesterday, and he's in the news again today. He's like a big hot news story. And my phone system is not functioning properly. At least it didn't yesterday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not call him. I'm just going to do a test call, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. We're just going to have some fun and see if this works, okay? And let me see if I can pot this up. And it should, see, this is the problem. We can hear the caller, but the caller can't hear me. Let's see what happens here.
You have reached the voicemail of Shelley Barr.
She's not going to.
Marketing manager for KSL.
Hold, you know what? I'm going to call right back. Hold on. She's calling me right back. No. Hold on a minute. Here's the situation. Hey, I'm calling you on the other phone. Answer the phone, okay?
Okay, bye.
Bye. Okay.
I recognize that voice.
Right. I have another phone. That's what I'm doing. I'm testing another phone to see if it might be my one phone that is getting funky on me.
It's the phone I just called.
No. Okay. Do you hear me? You don't hear me, do you?
Are you there?
Yeah. Damn it. This is driving me
My
nuts.
phone.
What's that?
Are you there?
She can't hear me. She can't hear me.
Brad.
This is actually sort of funny.
Hello?
Hey, it happens, Brad.
Hold on a minute. Shelly, I'm trying the phone system, but
Can you hear me?
yeah, but it won't work on the air. I just wanted to see. I tried a different phone. It's a long story. So, okay, that's all I needed.
Were you going to have me talk on the air?
What's that?
Were you going to have me talk on the air?
You're sort of talking on the air right now, but people can't hear you real well because the phone's not set up right. It's a long, stupid story. Okay?
It's okay.
Oh,
Yes. Have a
okay.
good day.
Bye.
Bye, John.
Bye, John. She says. Okay.
What a wonderful human being. I love Shelly.
My engineering expertise is slowly diminishing because I can't get this stupid phone to work right. Okay. I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Have you followed this bizarre story about the cops that ran into the gay bar? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's a LGBTQIA plus bar, Brad. So let's start with the right nomenclature.
Okay, excuse me. Do you know what's going on with this?
You know, I've seen a lot of hubbub about this. Do you want to recap it for folks who aren't aware?
Well, okay. Was sometime last week, wasn't it last week?
Yeah, I think it was maybe a week, 10 days ago, something like that.
A St. Louis City police cruiser, I guess mostly they're using SUVs now, so I don't know what it was. It was either like, a car, a squad car, or police SUV, which is what most of the departments have gone to. Was driving someplace in the city. Was it in South City? Was that where it was?
It was in the city, Brad. It all runs together for me.
Okay.
I would say it was South City.
Okay, long story made short. They're driving along. For some reason, they claim the police officer was distracted by his police radio.
Right. I have a theory on that we can get to, but go ahead.
And he smashed into and ended up inside the LGBTQIA bar, correct? Wasn't that the story?
That's correct. That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
And hilarity did not ensue.
Right. So a fight apparently ensued between one of the police officers and the manager or the owner of the bar, and apparently
and his partner.
And there were apparently what I understand, some chest bumping that went on, and then apparently some fisticuffs, correct? Isn't that what the story is?
That's correct. And it's important to note that this happened, was it around 3 a.m.? It was at a time where there were no patrons in the bar.
Right. And there's a couple weird parts of the story is the police officer was a probationary officer, and his ride-along partner was also a probationary officer.
Correct.
Now,
yeah.
If you watch any of the TV shows, typically you have, and you've heard this term before in some of the police shows, if you have a rookie cop, they're teamed up with a TO, a training officer, and that's not necessarily the term they use in all the departments. But if you watch, and I'm a big fan of the Bosch. Have you watched the Bosch series?
I haven't. No.
Okay, the Bosch. That's what they call it. Apparently in LAPD, that's what they call them, the TO, the training officer. So in other words, if you're and the rookie is called, at least in LA, they're called a boot. So in other words, if you're a rookie cop, you're a boot, and you're teamed up with a training officer. So why are two probationary police officers teamed up? Now, I've heard this discussed on other stations, and the answer I've heard is that the police department is so short on people, and they have so few training officers that they're essentially letting probationary officers team up.
Yeah, I mean, mathematically that makes sense. And I know we're up against time right now, but I have some theories on what happened here, and I think there's some legitimate news sources out there about what's going on, and then there's some non-reputable sources about what's going on.
Let's carry that over to the next segment, okay? And
right.
Because of the fact that I find it, I'm going like, okay, and now what the interesting part of this is that nobody was killed. I don't think anybody was even hurt, were they? I mean, other than the fight that broke out.
I think there was some ego injuries and some hurt feelings among the bar owners and his partner.
But the problem for me, this is why does this story get all this press, but yet when, another 2 or 3 people get shot in North City and killed, nobody cares about that anymore.
Right. We can talk about that.
That's just every single day. That's normal life in the city. I don't understand the whole thing. Okay, so John's going to try to unwind this story for us. We'll take a break and we'll be back. It's 7:21.